Hey, New Testament students, this brief video is to show you guys how very interesting doing word studies in the original language can be while you're reading through the Bible. Years ago, my pastor gave a sermon on John chapter 18, and I thought John chapter 18 was just, similar to the other Gospels and their telling of the betrayal and arrest of Jesus, much like you guys read in Luke chapter 22. But John 18 adds a couple other details, and it offers some words that, when looked up in the original Greek, I think make the passage a lot more interesting. So let me read it to you, and then I'll show you why. When Jesus had spoken these words, he went out with his disciples across the brook Kidron, where there was a garden, which he and his disciples entered. Now Judas, who betrayed him, also knew the place, for Jesus often met there with his disciples. So Judas, having procured a band of soldiers and some officers from the chief priests and the Pharisees, went there with lanterns and torches and weapons. Then Jesus, knowing all that would happen to him, came forward and said to them, "Whom do you seek?" They answered him, "Jesus of Nazareth." Jesus said to them, "I am he." And if you click on the footnote, you'll notice that in the Greek, it's just "I am," not "I am he." Jesus said to them, "I am." Judas, who betrayed him, was standing with them. When Jesus said to them, "I am," they drew back and fell to the ground. So he asked them again, "Whom do you seek?" And they said, "Jesus of Nazareth." Jesus answered, "I told you that I am. So if you seek me, let these men go." This was to fulfill the word that he had spoken, "Of those whom you gave me, I have lost not one." Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it, and struck the high priest's servant, and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. So Jesus said to Peter, "Put your sword into its sheath. Shall I not drink the cup that the Father has given me?" So the band of soldiers and their captain and the officers of the Jews arrested Jesus and bound him. I'll stop reading there. So again, it seems very similar to Luke 2, maybe a couple different details, but when you jump into the original Greek and look at some of the words, there's some interesting things that I think help better paint this scene and what did it look like at Jesus' arrest. So what I'm going to look for is two particular words. When it said a band of soldiers and when it said their officer. What is a band of soldiers? Who are these people? How many are there? And their officer, what rank per se is he? And in the Greek, we can learn that information. If I scroll down to verse, okay, here it is. It's right here in verse 3. Judas then, having received the Roman cohort, that would be the band of soldiers, I'm going to open that up, and officers from the chief priests and the Pharisees came there with lanterns, torches, and weapons. Now I'm going to scroll down later to where I stopped reading, which was verse 12. So the Roman cohort, that was the band of soldiers, and the commander, that's the officer. I'm going to look at both of those words. So the first word, the word for the Roman cohort, the band of soldiers, this is the Greek word spira. It can mean a few different things, but in this context it probably means one of these definitions: a military cohort, the 10th part of a legion, about 600 men, if auxiliaries either 500 or 1,000, a maniple or the 30th part of a legion. So we have a few options here. This band of soldiers that shows up to arrest Jesus, how big is it? One option, it's 600 soldiers. Another one, 500 or 1,000. Another one, about the 30th part of a legion. So if the 10th part of a legion maybe is about 600, the 30th part of a legion is maybe about 200. The idea is that at minimum, the crowd that shows up to arrest Jesus is at least 200. At least we're looking at, with torches, weapons, and I think it said lanterns, right? So this is a much larger crowd than I originally envisioned at Jesus' arrest. There's hundreds there to arrest him. Who is their commander? It's the Kiliarchus. The Kiliarchus is the commander over this band of soldiers. The Kiliarch, the commander of 1,000 soldiers. So this is maybe stronger reasoning that instead of, maybe 200, maybe it's hundreds more. That first figure of 600, 500, or 1,000, those might be right. So who showed up to arrest Jesus? At minimum 200, more likely approaching 1,000 showed up to arrest Jesus. This is not at all what I envision when I just read it in the English. But in the Greek, you see these words and they help add to it. Now there was that part in there that it's important not to read over. He says, "Whom do you seek?" Jesus asked them. They answered him, "Jesus of Nazareth." Jesus said to them, "I am." Remember, "I am" is the name that God gave to Moses when Moses said, "Hey, when you send me to Pharaoh, who should I say sent me?" And this is where God reveals to Moses his name. Tell him, "I am that I am," right? I am sent you. and that's God's name, Yahweh. And this is the words that Jesus speaks. Whom do you seek? Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus said to them, I am. Now look at the next verse. This is the coolest part. When Jesus said to them, I am, they drew back and fell to the ground. I don't know what that looked like, but just try to envision it. He says, whom do you seek? They say, Jesus of Nazareth. He says, I am. This is the name of God. This is Yahweh. Jesus says, Yahweh. And all of them draw back and hit the ground. Again, this is approaching 1,000 people. Hit the ground when Jesus, the creator of the universe, says, I am. Really neat scene in John 18. Understanding the Greek words, I think, adds so much that we lose when we're just looking at the English. This is all just an example of how much looking at the original Greek and doing word studies like this can help. So this tool that you saw me have open, this is a website called BibleStudyTools.com. You saw me click on a couple different words. There's going to be another video where I give you kind of a tutorial on how to use this website, how to do word studies in the Greek, and how this can be helpful in taking some quizzes that you're going to do in practicing this valuable skill. God bless you guys. Enjoy your day.